we generally find in the West nowadays that there is a kind of a nexus between the left, the Western left, and the Islamic coalition. So, why is this exactly taking place? What connection does the Western left have with the Islamic right, that is?
It's anti-Americanism primarily. So if you notice that when the Shah of Iran was overthrown and the mullahs came to power, those were the first mistakes made by the left around the world, that they supported the overthrow of the Shah, which was fine, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the fight against the dictatorship of the Shah of Iran was fronted by the multiple levels of communist and socialist parties in Iran. But Tudeh, which was the CPI in Iran, had close relationships at that time with the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union dictated many of the policies that were conducted by many of the communist parties, whether it was in Angola, or whether it was in Sukarno's time, or whether it was the CPI, and then the further division between CPI and CPM. So this sort of a direction taken by Tudeh to support the overthrow, and for Air France to fly in Ayatollah Khomeini to take over that, was a strategic mistake for which the whole world is paying a price even now, and most of all the Iranian people. Their revolution to bring democracy and freedom to the people became the first time that an entire country was put in a cage and told that you will be whipped and killed if you step out of the bounds. And that is what Iran is till today. And at that time, just to give you an example, the CPI supported the steps of the Iranian Revolution. Many of us were happy that the Shah had gone, but we knew that what was coming was horrendous, because 79 is also the year when Ziaul Haq enters. 79 is also the year when Nur Muhammad Taraki of Afghanistan is killed in his bedroom by Hafizullah Amin by putting a pillow over him. And three major events took place that triggered in 1979 the climax of the Cold War. And so if Islamists were fighting America, the left had to support them, because they themselves had been weakened by the lack of liberty or individual rights in the Soviet Union or China or wherever there was. If you were a dissident, you were finished. Whether you were Sharansky or whether you were Solzhenitsyn, you had to escape from there. So the place that promised equality of human beings and free thinking by the Bolshevik Revolution suddenly became a concentration camp under Stalin. And so you could not have independent thinking. Societies that do not allow independent thinking rot and die. That is why you are a 10,000-year-old civilization, so you have 50,000 gods, you know. सब चलेंगे, जिसका जो मर्जी आए करे. हमारा भी 1000 साल हुआ, बोला बस एक है, और किसी ने बोला तो ऐसा मारेंगे उसको, ठीक हो जाएगा. But anyway, so the left today is no longer the left after the end of the Cold War. Now you only have millionaires who are Marxist. You will never find working class people fighting for causes that were taken up by the left. Now you have politically correct Arundhati Roy types and philosophically green movement by Greta, or you know, what was that singer Rihanna. Everyone's become left who has nothing to offer, like a vice president in the United States. She just laughs every time you ask a serious question. She hid the fact she was Hindu for so many years and wanted to be known as black. And then her black father said, I'm not going to come to your oath-taking ceremony. You're a fraud. You're not aware of that.
I'm not.
She just had to eat idli, and all the Indians voted for her. So left say, yeah, nikal raha hamara. You don't have people who, who are dedicated in a practical way to effect change. Kanhaiya Kumar has to continue to remain a student to be on the left, right? There is no place where he can then move on, because the parties have become redundant. They cannot offer the solution. If state-sponsored pricing and bank, they have to, the left had to have an exercise in their thinking what went wrong. How did an idiot like Ziaul Haq pull the carpet from under their feet and topple the Soviet Union? Of course, the crisis in Chernobyl and the nuclear crisis, that is what really led to the Soviets having to run away from Afghanistan, because the entire country's entire GDP was being spent to stop a nuclear reactor from exploding. Millions of tons of cement had to be poured over there. All this happened during the same time. The left, unfortunately, is caught in either the rigor of textbook communism, not understanding the context within Marx understood society's economics as the basis of forming history, of how people progress, what are the means of production and all that. And if you really want to have social justice, then you find it in Finland, where you get 3 years of maternity leave, or you can have 30-year-old prime ministers, or in Norway, or most of the Scandinavian countries who are social democrat as against socialists, because they eliminated any sense that dissent will be punished.
Yes,
At its greatest glory in Islam, dissent was represented by the gentleman who screamed out in Baghdad, "Ana al-Haq, I am the truth." And the Caliph said that you can change this, but he refused, and he was beheaded and his head rolled down the river. And those are turning points, that when you get killed because of what you think. So in Pakistan, they go to the homes of journalists and beat them up and tell them, "Iski girlfriend ke bhai ne mara isko." You know, this happened just day before yesterday. You will never get a progressive thing when you subjugate people into fear of authority. Everyone has the right to go on his or her own salt march. And no one has a right to stop anyone from thinking or asking questions. The left today has joined with the Islamists. I call this phenomena Sharia Bolshevism. Everywhere you find the leftists, even in Toronto where I live, I cannot differentiate their stands between Jamaat-e-Islami or the Communist Party. They're the same. They're seen at the same places. Their only goal is death to America. And if Khomeini says death to America, they're with Khomeini.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.